my idea was to open some of the projects that you have in MINUSMA, so you will identify with something that you know. Basically, the assets and the construction, right? It's a project where you are building something, in your case. So I just wanted to go to the system, and I wanted to give you an idea of what are the typical projects that you have over there that are considered assets under construction. For example, I think an helipad or some roads, and they are projects that will produce a final asset, and they are being constructed. So from the finance perspective, it's very important that we are, from the finance perspective, they have a control of the costs that are incurring these projects, because based on the costs, the asset will have, the final asset will have some value or not. So in the system, since 1st July 2018, with the implementation also of inventory in SAP, what we do is we track inventory items or materials that get out of the warehouse, out of the stock, and they are going to be consumed for the construction. And it's very important that we link these inventory items that are coming out of the stock, and to track and to link them to the project. So monthly finance can, an engineer, you know that very well, can track periodically and capitalize the expenses. So if you give me 1 second while I know that you cannot see my screen, but I wanted to open while you are getting, and hopefully if you see my screen, just let me know. I just wanted to open the list of projects that you have in MINUSMA that are considered assets under construction. So if you don't have experience with assets under construction, you identify. Basically, if you are for property management, you are more familiar with the inventory terminology, and then what is a good issue or what is a good receipt. Am I correct? Are you familiar with these terms from your end? If we are talking about good issues, good receipts, you are more familiar with that, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So what is important, and the whole purpose of the session today, is to understand that when we are processing good issue, there is something called movement type that you will select. And it's important to understand if we are issuing materials for a project or not. And if it's for a project, we need to understand what movement type we have to select. For that, I need to give you some background, so it's something that you start understanding, and then I will go to the detail of how to do MIGO, how to do good issue when it relates to a project. Okay? And it's very important that when we do good issues, it's done in the right way, because otherwise the tracking is not correct, and also the inventory may not be properly reflecting the levels if we are not issuing out. So first, okay, we want to talk, the session is about assets under construction project. So let me go and see what we have in MINUSMA regarding assets under construction. So the first thing, even though you don't have any idea about assets under construction yet, maybe, what you're going to see will help you to understand to something that you can touch and see. Okay? So I'm going to the system, and I'm going to use a T code. 1 second. The T code, and then you will also receive it in the presentation, but just in case, it's CN43N. This is a T code that we can use to get a list of projects. All right, so what I'm going to do is to use this report to get only the projects from MINUSMA. I'm going to identify them using the business area of MINUSMA. This is not something that you need to remember. This is only to give you a picture of what we have in MINUSMA right now. So don't worry, because when we will get to the point that you really know, you really need to perform the transaction, I will tell you. This is basically to get the current picture of asset under construction project in MINUSMA. The business area is, oh, what? Someone is sharing the screen. Can you please stop sharing? I think someone is doing at the same time and sharing the screen, maybe through the WebEx or something. Okay. So just follow me. Please do not share your screen. Okay. So I was right. Please, someone else is sharing the screen. Can you stop sharing? Please do not share your screen. Just okay. So I'm the one sharing the screen today. Okay. So I'm trying to display the project for MINUSMA. So I selected MINUSMA business area, and I'm going to select the project, a range of projects. The first thing you need to know, or you need to notice, is that projects that starts with AA, right, are projects for assets under construction. Okay, so hopefully with this selection, I will get list of projects for MINUSMA. And then you will identify with some projects that are maybe in your camp or in a remote location. So just wait for 1 minute. I'm expecting to see okay. So you see this, what you see in the screen is a list of projects for assets under construction. Can you please mute the microphone? MINUSMA Gao, please. Gao, colleague, your microphone is open. Okay, thank you. So I was saying, okay, this is MINUSMA list of projects for assets under construction, the ones that have been created in the system. So hopefully you will recognize some of them. I can see here MOPTI helicopter hangar construction. This is one of the projects. Another project is called Bituminous of Roads and Parking. There is another one for airport apron in MOPTI. Another one, Badroom Banco Duenza something. So all these rehabilitation works in Camp Infama Camp Tesal. All these projects are projects. Okay, yeah. So all these are projects that are for assets under construction. Here we see a hard wall building, okay? And here we see another one that says erection of fabricated hangar, etc. Okay? So what you see there, are they familiar to you? So you identify them, do you recognize some of the projects? Those are projects whose purpose is to build something, right? So those are assets under construction projects. Now, since July 2018, they are managed with the project system in SAP. But there are another list of projects that were already, the construction started before that date, that are also in the system, by track with another thing that is internal order. This is just for you to see what you have currently in MINUSMA before I explain what you should do. So at least you understand the scope. Okay, now I'm going to show what you have in, let's say, also assets under construction, but that are tracked with internal orders, which is another way of tracking. Okay, so here I'm going to select again MINUSMA, whose business area is 022, and I'm going to select order type 1150. You don't need to remember these numbers. This is just to see what you have in MINUSMA. Okay, so here you have a different list of projects. As well, some of them are supposed to end in 2022. So you have also some, I think, some fencing wall, electrical system distributions, different projects. All right. So these projects are projects that are considered assets under construction. And why they are important? Because we have to track what the expenses we have to track, and we have to collect the cost. So for example, if they are hiring a consultant that is going to work in the construction, in the AUC, we track these expenses. If we hire a company, or we have a construction company that we are paying for the building activities, we have to track this cost. If we are using materials from stock, if we are using bricks, for example, and they are coming from the stock to build the structure, we have to track that. How is this tracked? With regards to inventory, this is tracked at the moment we do the goods issue, and this is what we are going to ship. But before telling you exactly how to do it, we need also to understand if these projects have funding or not. So let me again go to the system and show you the situation that you have in MINUSMA. So you identify the project and you see a bit of the picture. And this is basically an analysis of your reality before I tell you what is the process. So you understand that what I'm going to explain applies to you. Okay? Just 1 second, and I share my screen again. And then after I show this, I'm open to discuss your questions. So now I'm going to the system again with a different code to see your budget and the funds that have been allotted to these projects. Okay? So now, since I'm in FM, I'm going to select the fund code of MINUSMA, that is 20 MAL. Okay? If you have any question about this, now, right after I show the funds, we discuss and see if you understood what I wanted to explain, or if I explain it properly. So if I select as funded programs, anything in MINUSMA, I will see if there is any project with funding. Okay, so now what I want to show is the current situation of the asset under construction project from a budgetary perspective. Okay, sorry, I need to change something else so you see directly the funding. So I put this. Just do not worry about the process right now, what I'm doing, because this is only a report to show to you your current situation. So what you see here in the list, can you see my screen? Okay. Okay, so what you see here, you see on the right, on the left side of the screen, you see AA16, AA174, AA175, AA176. All these numbers are assets under construction projects. The ones that I showed to you before, this helipad, this fencing wall, this what else we had there, the hangar creation. All these are the projects, assets under construction projects that you have. These projects were created by your colleagues in engineering section, so they know them very well. They design them. They enter information in the system. And what you see on the right side is the budget that has been allotted to this project. For example, you have this project, and I could show you the description if you want. Maybe if I show the description, it's more meaningful to you. One moment. So if I show the description of the project, maybe it's going to be more understandable. So those are the projects. For example, if you see this line here, the multi-helicopter hangar construction, it has a certain amount that has been allotted, $309,000, and it's all available. Nothing has been consumed, for example. So all these projects have, your colleagues from FN have made a redeployment of funds and have allotted funds to the project. So the money is there waiting to be, let's say, consumed. You have here the prefabricated hangar in Gao, the hard wall in Mob, the construction. Okay. You have also here the rehabilitation works, and all these have funding. Okay, which means that from the budgetary perspective, and also in order for finance to capitalize properly, when we issue materials, if we got the budget for the materials for this project, we should be issuing to these projects the materials. Okay, so let me summarize what I just showed to you in a nutshell. So in MINUSMA, you have projects, you have assets under construction, right? You have different, some of them are as projects, some of them are as an internal orders. And in the projects, you have FM people from finance and budget that have allotted budget for the project, which means that the budget is not anymore in the cost center where normally used to be, but now it's dedicated to the project. Why is this important for you as property managers or for you as engineers? It's important because the moment we have to use materials from a stock, the moment that you get instructions to issue materials from a stock, you must ask, is this for a project? What is the project number if it's for a project? Is this for an asset under construction? Because you do have projects, you do have assets under construction, and they have funds allotted. If you do not, if this communication doesn't happen and you issue out in the same way as you always have done, we will not be collecting properly the costs. And then at the moment that finance want to capitalize, we will have problems and we will have to come back. So this first part of the presentation, wanted to let you know, yes, you do have assets under construction. Yes, they have funds allotted. Also, you have some of them as internal orders because they started before, right? So this, what we are going to explain, applies to you. It's very important that what I'm going to explain now, you pay attention and you interrupt if you don't understand something, okay? Any question from your end? Okay, so this is an overview about assets under construction, and this is what I was showing to you before. So what is an asset under construction? It's something that you need to understand. Since we implemented IPSAS and Umoja in the system, right, we have a part of the system that is called fixed assets and is dealing with the accounting of all the assets. That assets include fixed assets like vehicles, includes buildings, and also includes buildings that are under construction. And this is all managed in financial accounting, and as well, if you are from property management, you also have some colleagues that are acting in fixed asset module. So these assets, also the ones that are constructions, if they go beyond certain threshold and they meet certain criteria, they are considered fixed assets. Okay, there are some characteristics that are purely for finance and property management. So they have to be used for more than one reporting year. They can be tangible or intangible, and they have to be depreciated. This is just, let's say, financial information to give you a bit of context. So there are fixed asset master records that are created for every of these assets. In your case, we are talking about a building, for example. The system has to track the value of that building even before it's finished. Okay, and it contains information about the funding sources, the capitalization date, the useful life of the buildings, etc. This is why we are tracking this. The scope of this session is out of this, let's say, different scenarios that we have for fixed assets. We want to discuss about the assets that are self-constructed. It's what we call assets under construction. So they are internally constructed by the mission, even paying external vendors or not, but they are assets that are under construction. They are self-constructed. And yeah, most real assets are acquired via AUC, which means that if you have a building probably, or if you need a new building, you are going to construct it, right? And for example, under this category of assets under construction, we have buildings, we have infrastructure, we have leaseholds, improvements, intangibles, etc. Okay, and the cost of the asset under construction, what we need to, let's say, account for, includes materials, labor, and other operating costs. Okay, and all this is tracked in the system in something that is called work breakdown structure. Those are the projects that I'm going to, let's say, explain later. This work breakdown structure that you see here, that you see now on my screen that I'm highlighting, this is something that is created by engineers. This is the structure of the project, the construction project, but is created by engineers. But you as inventory users or inventory managers, you need to understand this concept, because if what they are requesting is you to issue out 1,000 kilos of gravel or something, or sand, if it's for a project, you need to ask engineer what is the project, and the engineer will give you a number, a code that identifies the project in the system. Is that clear? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes? Thank you, thank you. So the word, if it's new to you, if this word is new to you, it's important that you stop now and you understand. This work breakdown structure, is basically the construction project, but in the system. So when you are requested to give sand from the warehouse or bricks from the warehouse, if it's for a construction project, you need to ask, or the engineers should give you a code to identify the project. If you do it in the classical way, just put in the cost center, you're sending the cost to the cost center, and this is not good later for accounting and the financial statement. Okay? Any question about this word that is new to you? This WBSE, you may see it somewhere, sometimes people talk about it. So it identifies the project or the element of the project that you are building. Okay? Now you see internal order is something from the past, but maybe you started with some projects also with internal orders, and they have to be completed in the same way. So what type of costs we are trying to capture that are important in terms of financial accounting? The costs that are directly attributable to the project. Okay, so this is just something for finance. From your perspective, you have to think: is this going to the project? So I need to link it to the project. So in the asset under construction process, there are 4, let's say, phases. Yes, this is an overview for you. So when people talk about asset under construction or about AUC, you have an idea and you don't get lost in the concept. The project is first defined. They set up the cost collector. This cost collector is what I'm calling the project. Is what I'm calling the WBSE. So there is a first phase when the engineers will set up the project in the system, and then budget officers from finance division, but managing the funds management, they will allocate, or they allot funds to the project. This is the initial stage, and where you can see most of the projects, or some of the projects that I showed to you before that are in MINUSMA. Then there is a second phase, which is called collect costs. And this is where you intervene. Collecting costs is when we are issuing, in your case, issuing materials, issuing items from stock for the project. Then the system is collecting the costs. It's counting basically, okay, we spent $20,000 in this project. We spent $500 in this project. We spent this amount in this project. So while we are issuing out materials from the stock, the financial accounting ledger and also the project system is tracking the costs. So at the end, when finance wants to say, okay, the asset is finalized, what is the value of the asset, will be counting all these costs. I'm trying to simplify it. Okay? Do you get the idea of how this works? Engineers set up the project, and then we are collecting costs while we are issuing. Is there any question? Okay. Otherwise, I will continue. Now, this is basically a list of steps. Don't get lost in all the steps. I just want you to look at the purple color. And if it's not purple, I'm sorry, I'm a bit colorblind. So I want you to look at the steps that says procure goods and services and issue materials. Why? Because this is the whole process for assets under construction. The first step is the creation of the projects and internal orders. In this case, we have seen that in MINUSMA, engineers created properly and the projects. They are there. We have seen them. I have shown to you in the system. Then I have also seen that they allocated budget to the project. Okay, and on this point, actually, Conda had a point to mention, and I'm contacting your colleagues. But maybe it's something that someone from engineering section can clarify. I think Marina was there from engineering section. I have a question for MINUSMA for you. Do you know if when budget officers or finance, when they are allocating budget to your funded programs, to your projects, they are doing it for materials and also for construction, or only for construction? Can you please clarify?
Okay, so only for the cost. The budget is allocated funds only for the cost, not the materials.
Only for
only for the service.
Okay, so for the services, right? So for the so that's good to know. And if that applies to all the projects as well, this will simplify the selection, the correct process of the good issue. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. And that was a comment from Conda, and also Chris Bickley was also asking me to clarify that. Thank you. Okay, and then after these two steps, I see that you have procurement of goods and services, and you have issuance of materials from stock. And this is why we have created this session, to reinforce this step and to explain to you how to do it. Okay, any other comment or question? May I go ahead? Okay, so how do we do this? This is the point. How do we issue materials from a stock to a project, in this case to an AUC? How is this supposed to be done? So the good news is that you are not going to do anything special. You still have to use MIGO, the T code, and there is only one thing you need to pay attention, and it's a very important one. Actually, there are two things that you need to pay attention. From your perspective, the ones that are processing the MIGO, you have to be able to select the proper movement type, and we are going to explain it in the next slide. And there is another thing that you must be aware of, and is the moving average price. But in terms of process, it is done, the issue of material from a stock is done in the same way, with the same transaction. All right? Is this clear? Do you need to do anything special to issue materials from stock to a project? Do you need to use a special transaction? No, you still use the same one. But what you really have to pay attention to is something called movement type, that normally you don't change, because if you are always dealing with the same scenario, you don't pay attention to that. But from now on, you have to be very careful. If you are issuing to a project, you have to consider the following. In your scenarios, MINUSMA, we have seen that you have some of the assets under construction that are with projects. In this slide, you have the 6 options that we might need to select based on the scenario. But I'm going to simplify it for you. in MINUSMA, all the storage locations that you have, they are linked to MINUSMA fund. So you don't have cost recovery scenarios. You may have a project or you may have an internal order. If you have an internal order, if the project started before July 1st July 2018, most likely you have an internal order. So when you're going to issue the do the goods issue, you need to ask to the engineers, for what project is this? Tell me the WBS or tell me the internal order number. If the budget that has been allotted is not for materials, we are in this scenario always, as Conda anticipated. Since the internal order that I showed, they don't have a budget allotted for materials. And as you confirmed, the projects that have funds allotted do not have it for the materials, you are always in this scenario, in these two scenarios. So when you are going to do the good issue, you have to either indicate movement type 221 if it's for a project and they have to give you the WBSE, or 261 if it's for internal order. This is what you really have to remember and you really must be aware. If in the future you have another scenario where the funds are allotted to the project also for the storage, for the stock, sorry, then you will use different scenarios. But right now, and then let me insist on this, right now in the system, okay, and also this is something that you have to confirm with finance, and if in case the project doesn't have, I mean, in case that you have a project with funding for materials, but if the scenario is as you have described it right now, we have only two situations. Is an asset under construction? Yes or no? Okay, this material that we need to issue out of the stock is for an asset under construction, is for a project. Okay. So tell me the project number, right? And they will give you, is this a WBSE element? If they give you a code that starts with AA, and now I'm going to show in the system how to do it, then you use movement type 221. Okay, how is the project tracking the system? With an internal order, then you use movement type 261. So at the moment that you will do the good issue, you have to select either, in your case, MINUSMA 221 or 261 if you have it tracked as a project in the system, or if it's tracked with an internal order. Who is going to tell you that? Engineers. They are a key actor in this scenario. Okay, so these two. In case where the budget has not been allotted for the materials, right? It's a statistical the issuance. Don't get confused with the terminology. This is your movement type 221. If it's an internal order, 261. Is this clear? Okay. All right. So thank you, Chris, and thank you for the questions as well. So this slide is a good summary of what we were mentioning with regards to the issuing materials from the stock. You need to be aware of the complexity in terms of possible movement types, and you need to get clear instructions from engineering about if what the project is tracked with a WBS, with a work breakdown structure, or with internal orders. And then if you have to use it as movement type 221 because there is no budget allotted to the project. But it's also, okay, this is something that I will show later, so maybe I'm going now to the system. What is also important for you to understand is the way the charges are done to the project, or how we are tracking when we are issuing out from inventory. We are talking about collecting costs. We are talking about the material that go out of the warehouse or out of inventory will be triggering an expense in the system. But what would be the value of that expense if we are issuing out 10 bricks? If we are issuing out, I don't know, 1,000 kilos of sand. How is this tracked? Are you familiar with the concept of moving average price? Do you know what it is? Okay, so the materials and the items that you have in inventory, they have a price that is calculated in the system as an average of the same items that are acquired. Okay, so for example, just to give you a stupid example, and now I'm going to the system to show a real case from you. If we are acquiring 10 chairs, I mean, chairs maybe is not a good example. If we are acquiring 1,000 bricks and every brick has a price of 10 cents, the average price is 10 cents for one brick, right? Then if we acquire bricks that are more expensive, the average price will increase. So the system is tracking the average price of the items. So when we issue them out, the system considers we are expending this amount of money. Okay? It's the average price of the item. If we always acquire certain items at the same price, the price will be always the same. But if we are acquiring sometimes more expensive and sometimes cheaper, then the average price will be moving. That's why it's called moving average price. And this is the price of this particular item, type of item, material ID or product ID, as you want to call it, in your plant, in your inventory. So why is this important? Because if you have in the inventory something that has the wrong moving average price, when you issue them out, you're going to collect costs properly, but the system is going to collect the wrong amounts. And now it's very important that finance is also aware. If you identify that some items don't have the proper moving average price, you may need to involve finance for the adjustment. Okay, I'm going to share my screen to show you one example of this moving average price. So you also are aware of this concept that is involved. Don't worry if we are giving too much information. Now we will go to the system. I will perform a demo, and step by step, everything is going to make sense. All right. So another code for you to see the stock or the inventory that you have and their price, right, is MM60, for example, or yeah, MM60. This is a good one. So I'm going to get now a small report for MINUSMA. Okay, your plant I think is ML10, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, and I'm going to select the material group, one material group, just to get a short list. I think this one is earth and stone materials. So this is for construction typical material. So I want to show you that in this list of materials that you may identify, right? You have gravel here. You have aggregate, fill, limestone, different stuff. Sand as well, different stuff. You have here a column that is called price. This price is the moving average price for one unit of measure of all these items. This is the real production data. This is MINUSMA moving average price. Okay, so this one is for kilo, another one is for kilos web by cubic meter. So this is the moving average price, and this is important because if you issue, for example, 1 kilo of this item, the expense will be $20 with 52. If instead of one kilo is 100 kilos, then will be $2,000. This is the moving average price, and it's important that is properly, let's say the system has a correct value. And if you identify any problem, Then there is a job that I'm going to share as well at the end of the session, so you know how to correct it involving the finance, I think. Okay, let me take an example, another example. So this is moving average price. Now, when we say moving average price, you understand that is the price of the one item in the stock. Okay, is this clear? At least the concept, I know it's a bit abstract, but is this clear? What is the moving average price? Is the price of the stock, okay, of one item.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for one. It's okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Another way of looking at this, if you go to, if you have the product ID, for example, you can go to MM03 and then enter it. I think this one was an example. And here in the material master, you have a particular moving average price for your plant. So this element that I'm taking, it's what? Gravel by volume? Gravel. And then we have here the moving average price, 37.50 for MINUSMA. Maybe different mission have different price because maybe when they procure it at a different price as well. Okay, this is something that I wanted to mention. What I'm going to do is to go to the system, to the training environment, and I'm going to show to you one project that I have in the training environment. All right, and I'm going to show to you that for this particular project, we have inventory, and we want to issue something to the project. So now I'm going to explain in the system what is the process that you must follow to issue to the project. So first we were explaining what is the situation in MINUSMA. Now we explain what is the process and the movement types. So how is this done in the system? So at the end of the session, you realize that we are not explaining anything new apart from the concepts, okay? And that you need to understand. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to the system. Otherwise, if you have any other question, just stop me. I'm going to the system to show the transaction. And sorry if you're getting tired because I'm talking too much. Okay. If you need a break as well, just tell me. Are we okay? Shall we continue? Can we?
Yes, you can proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so just give me 1 second that I go to the training environment to show to you, because otherwise I would be issuing materials out in production and I don't want to mess around the projects. Anyway, I think I don't have access in production. So 1 second, please. So I go to the system. Okay. Let me share the screen so you see what I'm doing while I make you wait. Do not take note of my password, please. Okay, so as I said, while I'm loading the SAP environment again, first thing I'm going to do is to display a project. The same thing we did for MINUSMA. I'm going to open a project that is linked to, it's an asset under construction project. So you have to think that this could be an example for MINUSMA. Okay. So I have the same report that I used before to see the projects. Okay. Don't worry about this selection here. So I have a project that is this one. This is again, remember, this is an asset under construction project. You see, it starts with AA68. And in my case, this element here, this is a breakdown. This was a camp, right? A camp for construction project, something. And it had buildings, office buildings, hospital. It's all dummy data because it's in the training environment. But in our scenario, let's say that we have a project that we are working in the mission, and there is one office building that is being constructed. All right? And this is the element of the project. So now imagine that we need to issue out materials for this project. Okay? This project is particularly this item. It's important when the engineers give to you the WBS element, they give you the exact node for which your materials are going to be used. It's not the same if we are using the bricks for the hospital or if we are using them for the office building. So important note, if you are processing MIGO, if you are processing good issues, it's not enough if they give you the number of the project. They have to give you the WBS element, which is the detailed element of the project for which you are going to issue out. So in our case, we want to issue out bricks for the office building, which is the AA00068.01.01. And this is the one we will use. Okay? So let's see if we have a stock, what we are going to issue. In our scenario is for MONUSCO. Okay, so I want to see bricks, and this is the material ID of the brick. In my case, is MONUSCO. Don't get confused because I'm using MONUSCO as an example. Okay, and in this case, this is the storage location where we have the elements. 1 second. 520. Okay. I just tested this before. Let me see if I'm missing some zeros. Okay, MMBE 520. 1 second. Material storage location is 1104, and then the material is 11. Okay, yeah, I was putting one extra zero. So this is the inventory of our example. I said we are building an office. This is an asset under construction project. We are building an office, and we need bricks. Okay, bricks for construction. You can imagine this scenario with sand or any other scenario. Are there bricks in our storage location? Yes, there are 1 million bricks. All right. So what are we going to do now? We need to issue the materials. We need to issue the bricks. How do we issue the bricks? What is the T code to issue the bricks? Can you tell me from Bamako? MIGO. MIGO. So we go with MIGO. Okay? We go with MIGO. And in this case, we are going to do a good issue. Okay? In my case, I'm not taking this example of the reservation because I just wanted to show the impacts. But of course, if you have a reservation, then you have to do it from the reservation. But in my scenario, I didn't create the reservation. Sorry for that, but the information is pretty much the same. So how do we do a good issue? What do we indicate here? The material, right? Nothing new. If while I'm processing, there is something that you don't agree or you think is different from what you do normally, you raise your hand because I can see you. Okay, I'm doing a good issue for bricks that goes to an asset under construction. All right? I talked to engineering section and they told me this is for an asset under construction, and they gave me the project, the WBS element. So what is the material? 11000447, which is bricks for construction. Okay? Nothing new. We go to quantity. How many bricks we need? We need to issue, I don't know, 1,000 bricks. Anything new so far? No, it's the same as usual, right? You put the product ID, you enter the amount, the quantity, item is okay. From where we are going to get the material. But be careful, because here we already have movement type. You also have it normally here on top of the screen. Movement type. This is what is critical. This is what all this session is about. What movement type do we select? And now you're going to tell me. Let me show the presentation again. And you tell me what movement type we need to use.
If it's a new project, 221. If it's the old one with internal order, 261.
Yes. So under the assumption that for you is not an assumption because you know all the information. So if there is no funds allotted for materials in the project, that's it. If it's a project, in our scenario we said what? My scenario is to build an office. And there is a project. We showed to you that there is a project. And there is no fund allotted for materials. So what movement type do we select? And I need someone from inventory to tell me. From inventory management.
I think it will be 221 because we have identified already the WBS code.
Very good. It would be 221. Exactly. All right? So I go to the system and I choose the correct movement type, which is 221 consumption for project from warehouse. All right? Then we select the plant. In my case, it's MONUSCO. In my storage location is 1104. But is this okay? Am I missing something? What do you think? We told the system we use movement type 221. Correct? But now we have to tell the system what is the WBS element that we are going to use. So when you do the good issue, if you put 221, you are telling the system this is for a project. Now you have to tell the system what project, what WBS element. All right? So only two things you need to remember. If it's for a project, first thing, choose the correct movement type. And secondly, you indicate the WBS element. Where do you indicate it? So here, you said here movement type, okay? Or here actually, okay? In the account assignment, you have to go to more. And once you click in more, you get a pop-up window. You insert here the project. It was AA dash. What is the project? I don't know. I call engineer section. What is the number? I don't know. What is WBS? I don't know. I call engineer. Tell me what is the WBS element of this project. They can also get it from here, right? I told you this is the one in my scenario, 680101. So we write it here, AA 00068.01.01. And you need to specify also the fund. In your case, will be 20 MAL, I think. No? But for my case, it's just MONUSCO because this is the training environment. I could set up only this. All right. Now we have already indicated the two important elements: the movement type and the WBS element is here. Okay. Anything else that we need to populate from here? I think that's it. All right. So let me check if it's okay. Yeah, this is because I'm posting in a closed budget posting period. So let me just post it. Do not do this in production. Okay, you are posting in the actual, in your current date. So I know this one is open. So I don't get any error. Let me summarize what I did. It was, I want to issue out bricks for an office building. For this, a construction project, an asset under construction. I enter normally the material ID. I inserted normally the quantity, 1000. I specify the movement type, which is 221 because it's asset under construction. 221 because I got it from the slide. No, it's for a project, and the budget has not been allotted for materials. I selected the plant and the storage location. This is your business, you do it every day. And here, important because it's not visible. Remember, if you don't find the WBS, you have to click on more. Some people will get stuck. They will enter 221 and they will not find WBS. Once you click here, you got it. So I'm just going to post. Okay, the posting went properly, no errors. So now we have a document which is 49000-32402, right? So what do you expect to happen after the posting? Please tell me what do you expect after we have done this. What would be the impact in the system? You tell me to see if you are listening to me or not. So we posted in the good issue. So what do we expect now to happen? Someone from Bamako that is full of people. Very good. So first impact in inventory, right? In inventory, the level of the inventory should have gone down, right? Impact in inventory. Another thing. What else? In the project. So inventory will matter to inventory managers. The level went down. For project, the cost has been captured for the project, right? We also expect the cost to be captured. What else? And the linkage. The linkage. Okay. Sorry. What else? If we had budget allotted, it would be an impact, but we use the movement time without impacting budget. So we have only to check inventory levels and the cost. All right. And inventory level will have an impact as well in the value of the inventory. So let's go and see the impact in the inventory and the impact in the project. Let's see if what we are telling you works well or not. So we have the number, okay? Let me first display the document. So even though we don't have anybody from finance here, I think it's this one. So this is the posting. Let me just display the good issue that we posted, just to show you something that finance are involved on it. So you are aware of the impact of your good issue. We have posted the good issue. The first thing that the system creates is an FI document. Okay. The FI document has been created by the system, and it has an impact in the expense account. So we are debiting the expense account for the amount of $10,000, and we are reducing the value of the inventory for $10,000. Finance people are worried about these things, okay? So they will see, the impact in the file. You see the expenses in the expenses of this material is linked to the project already. Okay, that for you, since you are not finance and finance is not sitting in the room, maybe it's not so important, but at least you see that there is an impact in finance. What you are seeing right now is an accounting document. All right, this is the first thing I wanted to show. Now, you said that there is an impact in the inventory. Let's go and see it. So we go to MMBE. Okay, and we display the stock overview, and you see it has been there has been a reduction. Before it was 999, now it's 998,000. So yes, we have impact in the inventory in the same way as always, nothing special. But now let's go to see if there is an impact in the project, right? So engineers, you know this code, CJI3, okay? I enter the project number, okay? I put the proper date, posting date range because I posted in December, and let's see what we have there. You see, now we have now a cost that has been collected for $10,000. That refers to the good issue of bricks that we did. This is exactly the effect that we are looking for when we select the movement type 221. So the asset under construction project, the project is tracking that cost. So when later from the finance FA16 user, from the financial accounting, they want to capitalize, they will be able to track. Now, can someone tell me from where the system is choosing this amount? How does the system know if he has to post for $10,000 or less or more? What do you think? Because in the good issue, we only set, we issued 10,000, I think it was 1,000 bricks, right? How does the system know what is the total cost? From what, sorry? In the approved budget, you know the amount that you have, and right now we selected movement type that has no impact in the budget, right? Because you said the funds that you allotted in MINUSMA are not to pay for the materials. So we selected 221. So how, and you choose 1,000, we chose 1,000 bricks. So how does the system know if it's equivalent to $10,000 or $100 or $1 million? How does the system know?
It uses the moving average price from the system.
Exactly. So let me go, very good. So let me go and see in this scenario that we built, and you have seen the impact in the project, if it makes sense, if that is the correct posting. You don't need to do it. I'm just doing this for you to believe in the steps that they are in the system. So if you see the wrong posting or the wrong amount, you may understand a bit from where the problem is coming. So if I go to the material that I'm using, that is this one, the brick, and I go to accounting, I can see that for MONUSCO, the moving average price of this stock is $10 per brick. They are very expensive bricks, sorry. So it's $10. So since this is $10, the posting that you have seen of 1,000 bricks is 10,000. Okay? So this is how the system converts the quantity in the goods issue to the cost that is being tracked. All right? If it happens that the moving average price is wrong, it has to be fixed and amended before you issue out. Otherwise, you have double work. You have to fix the moving average price and then fix the amount that went to the project. Okay? So let me summarize what I did, and then you ask any other question if it's not clear. What I've done is I showed to you a project. Maybe if I share the screen, you remember better. I showed to you this project, which is a project to build a camp. As part of this project, there is one element, one WBS element to build an office building. So this is an asset under construction. In one of the elements is an office building. And for engineers, you know that this is something that is also written in the presentation. When you see an X here in this column, it means that you can use it for accounting. Okay? And then also I could show to you the status, but maybe the status of the project, but maybe it's too much. So this is the project, asset under construction. This is the element, office building. Then I went to the good issue. I went to Migo. One second, I go to my screen again. I lost it. I went to Migo and I posted this document. One second. This is from production. One second. Sorry. I don't want to lose you right now. I want to open the right screen. So, project info, display material. This is it. So I selected the project. I went to Migo to do the good issue. And this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. So I created the document and I said I need bricks. I need to issue out bricks. 1,000 bricks. Movement type 221. Storage location and plant. And account assignment, very important. We came here and we set WBS element. This is the one. So I told the system I want to issue 1,000 bricks for this project. Then we post it. We saw there was an impact in finance. And we saw there was an impact in the project, and we track the cost, that is what we want, and we also saw the inventory level going down. All right? This is the summary of what I did, and the reason why we do it is because what we discussed before. If we do not collect the costs on the assets under construction, then finance has problems to capitalize and to assign the value to the asset. Is this clear? Is there any question?